I don't even know how to start a video like this, to be honest. Like, I know it's kind of one of those things that I think people always meme about on the internet, about, like, you know, the YouTuber apology kind of video. And, you know, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think that I would ever get to this point in my YouTube career where I'd have to sit down and do one of these. But, you know, people are starting to ask questions, and I feel like it's time to address it. So, a little bit towards the end of last year, I made a pretty big decision that really, you know, it really changed my life, and it affected what I had been telling all of you from the very beginning, and I haven't totally been honest, I don't think, about something like this. This is really hard to do. This is really, really difficult. So prior to fall of last year, I said Xenoblade 2 wasn't a good game. And then I played it again and gave it a second chance, and I was damn wrong. Xenoblade 2 fans, I'm sorry. I didn't know how long I was gonna be able to keep that going, but I'm very proud of myself. I thought that was a pretty good YouTuber apology. Yes, I do stand by that fact. I was most definitely wrong about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I want to talk about not just that, but also about giving games a second chance. Hi everybody, my name's Alex, aka Quality, and welcome back to the channel. I've had that idea to do this like YouTuber apology style for like months. I just hadn't been able to do it. And then recently, I don't know why, but this idea popped back into my head and I was like, I need to make this video. But unlike my original plan for this video, where it was just gonna be talking about my thoughts about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I wanna expand the topic a little bit and get away from the more like reviewy aspect of it. I'll still talk about my thoughts about the game, but in talking about the larger idea of giving games that you, for the first time around, really despised a second chance, because I think that's a really interesting gaming topic to talk about. So yeah, getting right into it, I want to talk about my history with this gem of a game, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was probably my 4th or 5th game that I got for the Switch. I was a huge fan of the first game, as many of you know if you've been around on the channel, and I was so excited for this sequel. And even though I knew it was coming for a while, I wasn't really keeping up to date with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. A lot of it was because I didn't have a Switch right away. I got it late 2017, so I didn't really pick this up right when it came out. It had already been out for like a good while when I ended up getting it. I think I got it for Christmas, not that year, not the year I got my Switch, but the year after. So it was Christmas of 2018 when I got Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And for whatever reason, I couldn't bring myself to play this game as soon as I got it. And so it wasn't until the following summer where I actually finally got around to trying it, being in between Octopath Traveler and just other games. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 very much so got pushed to the back corner. So it was summer 2019 where I finally got to play it. I think right before Three Houses came out, actually. That sounds about right. So I think that's the timeline. And I remember the day where I was like, you know what? I'm finally gonna do it. I was at my cabin. I think it was like a rainy day. So I was like, we're gonna jump into Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It is time. I'm so ready to love this game. I'm so excited. So I put it into my Switch, and I was interested in the premise for sure, but kind of looking at the characters, I wasn't totally sold on them at that point in time. I think, you know, it's weird to compare the Wii graphics to Switch graphics, especially now, but something just felt very off to me when I first opened up the game. I found Rex to be extremely unlikable, which, wait, this opinion changes, so don't yell at me yet. Yeah, I found Rex to be an extremely unlikable protagonist. And so we start the game out in the Argentum Trade Guild, and I'll talk more about the premise of Xenoblade 2 in a little bit for those who might not know. But you start out in the Argentum Trade Guild, you get your mission kind of at the beginning of the game. And so it was a lot of exploring that, And it was a lot of tutorial after tutorial that just didn't actually explain anything to me. And it was very, overwhelming in the fact that there was so much information that was not being explained while thrown at me every 2 seconds, but also it just felt very not exciting, I think. I was so used to the big open worlds of Xenoblade Chronicles that starting in kind of a more confined space like the Argentum Trade Guild, it was weird. It was a very, very weird area that did not immediately bring me in. And I know a lot of people that love the Argentum Trade Guild, like the music, which I think the music is phenomenal there. I think it's so fun and very adventurous, but some people loved it. And I was like, this feels weird. This feels not like Xenoblade at all. And that feeling continued for quite a little bit. Without any story spoilers about the beginning, I think I got like 6 hours in and then I stopped, which is really embarrassing. So 6 hours in, that gets you kind of past the first dungeon area. The quest to go to Elysium with Pyra has been decided. I think I got up to where you get Poppy, and I think that is where I stopped. I'm pretty sure that's where I stopped. So yeah, not my proudest moment. I don't think I'd ever quit a game so quickly, unless it were like a shovelware type of game. But a game that was supposed to be the follow-up to one of my favorite games of all time, I was so shocked and disappointed. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, why do I hate this game so much? Why can't I get into this? Because I had seen some people online love it and others really, really hate it. And I did not want to be on the side that hated this game. I wanted to be on the side that really, really loved this game. And I just could not bring myself to do it. I couldn't bring myself to put it back in. I couldn't. I just could not put Xenoblade Chronicles 2 back in my Switch. And so many long years passed until fall of 2023. I played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 at the beginning of 2023 because I had missed the boat a little bit on that one too, just because I was busy the week that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out, so it got pushed back a little bit behind some other games. Finally did Xenoblade Chronicles 3. My love for the series was completely reignited, and once I started being on YouTube a little bit more and meeting a lot of friends who very much so love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I felt like it was the time to give it another shot. And I am so glad that I did. It still took a long time. It still took a really, really, really long time from that realization of I need to give Xenoblade Chronicles 2 another shot to when I actually did give Xenoblade Chronicles 2 another shot. But I got there eventually. So there you go. So yeah, it was fall of 2023, and I remember booting up the game again and just feeling so anxious. I was so worried. I was like, what if I still don't like this game? What's gonna happen to my reputation? What are my friends going to dislike me? Like, what do I don't like Xenoblade Chronicles 2? And I had to really put that thought aside. I was like, I need to not think about other people's opinions about this game, and I need to look at this game for what it is, and I'm going to finish it. Even if my feelings have not changed, I'm going to finish Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because I loved 1 and 3 so much. So I needed to go through it. And it took me quite a long time. I actually think that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 might be my least played Xenoblade game, minus Torna. Not because of any bad reason, but just because I could not stop going through the main quest. I really actually avoided a lot of side quests because I was so anxious to see the ending of this game once it started getting going. And I think that's a pretty positive thing, to be honest. So let's talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 itself for a little bit before we get back on the giving games a second chance theme. So what Xenoblade Chronicles is about is you are a young scavenger named Rex, who searches the Cloud Sea in order for artifacts to sell and make a living. You have him and a character affectionately known as Gramps, who is a Titan. Rex gets contacted by the chairman of the Argentum Trade Guild to go on a very special mission that somebody only from Leftheria can do. So Rex gets to meet these characters called drivers. And so drivers are kind of like people, humanoid, they don't really have to be humans, they can be whoever, that resonate with things that are called blades, who are also humanoid type creatures. I'm not doing a very good job at explaining this, but the relationship between a blade and a driver is really intrinsic, and it's very specific per each person. Not everybody can be a driver, and those who can be a driver to multiple different kinds of blades. So they use Rex in order to help salvage this old ship that they don't really disclose what they're looking for, but it turns out that they're looking for a girl named Pyra, a blade who has been sealed away for many, many years for reasons unknown as of right now. Some things happen, and Rex and Pyra end up being together. Pyra ends up rescuing Rex by giving him half of her life force in order to bring him back, on the condition that Rex brings her to Elysium, which is where the creator of All Rest is supposed to be. Along the way, they make plenty of friends with other drivers, some unlikely companions, and explore the entirety of All Rest on the quest to find Elysium and see if it's real and if the creator actually exists. There's a lot of big issues in this game, such as Titans dying off, kind of the way of the world where it doesn't seem like there's going to be many places for people to live in the future, given the fact that these Titans are dying off. There's a lot of very big issues in this game. The idea that blades aren't entirely real humans, like there's a lot going on in this game, and it's wow. It's so wow. And like, I will be honest, I don't think, and this is where I was really wrong, I don't think I could have actually grasped the concept of this world in the short amount of time that I played. Even though I got to the point where it's like, all right, we're setting up the plot, I quit it way too early. I absolutely quit it way too early. And I mean, I guess if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have had this incredible experience, but regardless, it definitely takes a while in this game to get going, 100%. But yeah, it certainly takes a little bit to really get the whole scope of the story at hand here. I felt myself, as I continued in this story, just getting more and more enthralled in everything going on and just falling so in love with these characters. As I said earlier, my opinion of Rex changed greatly throughout this story. I think Rex is a character, and again, without getting too much into the story, because I really do think this is better experienced yourself, Rex as a character goes through so much change and growth and so much emotional turmoil, as Rex, I'm pretty sure, is canonically like 15 years old, which, you know, that's a big time in a lot of adolescence life, but especially for him who feels so like burdened with this huge responsibility and learning how to deal with this responsibility as well as manage and help with the feelings that Pyra and other members of his group are experiencing. It's a very interesting thing to see this kid kind of grow up throughout this, but also learn more about himself and realize that he's not alone in this and that he doesn't want others to be alone either. It's a really beautiful coming of age story, to be honest, in a way that I think the other two games aren't, because I think the protagonists are a lot more mature, whereas with Rex you have a lot more of that younger kind of perspective on things, while Rex is still, you know, he's still a mature kid for his age, but he just, I don't know, it's a really, really cool thing. And so by the end, I really started to like Rex quite a bit. I still think I like, in terms of like our main protag people, I think I still kind of like Shulk better. I think Shulk is still my favorite, and I really love Noah. I think Noah and Rex are pretty neck and neck because they're both really good characters. But not only is Rex a good character, the entire cast is so good, and the relationship between the cast is so special. You have a lot of unlikely people coming together for this same kind of ideal, with their own goals in the end, but they all come together to really form this super tight-knit group. And it's interesting to see how they open up to one another, especially towards the end of the game, about their own individual struggles and how they've been struggling throughout their life and how it's led to this moment. And I think it's such a special thing. And it's really, really cool to see that relationship. And again, I think Xenoblade games do a really good job at showing how tight-knit your parties are, but there was something really special about the relationship overall, not just with your main party characters, but the relationship that those characters have with the villains of the story and with the villains' relationship among one another. It's just such a cool knit web of character relations that it's a really special thing. I can't say that enough. It's just so special to have this like entire social net almost, and especially because you have so many characters referencing things from the past. They have history with one another as well. And that gets expanded on in the expansion, Torn of the Golden Country, which is phenomenal. Also a great companion to this game, but that even the hints that are just dropped in the main game are so like, they make you want to know more, which I think is so cool. And of course, some other positives, the music and the land, oh my gosh, both are so phenomenal. All Rest is beautiful. You have some of the coolest locations, I think, in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but the music is like a whole other level. I love Xenoblade Chronicles music. You all know that. I'm a big fan. I really do think that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has my favorite OST out of the bunch, which is saying a lot to a game that I used to say that I hated. But there are so many tracks in this game that like literally shake me to my core. And there is one that I don't want to spoil. I'm probably going to talk about this song in a video later on. I have a lot of music themed video ideas coming soon. And you're going to hear a lot about Xenoblade music, but especially like this song that is just so... Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It literally kept me awake for like 7 additional hours after beating the game because I couldn't stop listening to it and I couldn't stop thinking about it. But that's for another video. That's for another video. And as I said, the story just totally is... Oh, it's good. It is really, really, really good. I think I had a really unique experience by playing 1, 3, 2 in terms of the main games with the DLC and side stories kind of sprinkled in there. But I think that was a really interesting way to see the story play out because 1, you know, the first time I ever played the first one, I just kind of took the story as is, never expecting there to be a sequel, you know, and then I played 3, see how those worlds are connected, and then of course play Future Redeemed, those worlds are even more connected, and then go back to 2 and see it all from a different perspective, from the other side almost, after the events of 3. And it was really, really interesting, and it gave me a complete appreciation for the Xenoblade universe as a whole, because, or just the Xeno universe as a whole, because it's so, again, so expertly crafted. It's so expertly crafted to just weave into one another without overburdening either which game with references to a different game. It's all so subtly and tastefully done, and seeing kind of the big reveals towards the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, just, oh, they hit in a different way that I don't think they would have hit if I had played Xenoblade 2 fully the first time, which is saying a lot, and maybe people don't believe me on that one, but I really do think it was a very unique experience to do it this way. But not everything was sunshine and rainbows, of course. I have a lot of complaints about this game still. As much of a wonderful experience as it was, I do still think there are reasons that I was justified in not liking it the first time around. As I kind of said, it takes a while to get into the story. The buildup is very, very slow at the beginning, and maybe some people really liked that, because I can see how like Xenoblade 1 and 2 would almost be overwhelming being dropped into this very expansive world, where the Argentum Trade Guild is a much more confined area to kind of get your bearings in, but to me it just felt really boring. And even once we started to get more story details, it really took 15 hours or so to get into the game and start understanding things, which I think personally is just a little too long. I really wish it would have gotten going a little bit sooner. And something I also mentioned is there are a lot of tutorial boxes that show up in the game. You can never access those again after the first time they show up. They're just gone. They're gone forever. You can never see what it told you ever again. So if you forgot a very important mechanic and how to do that very important mechanic, you're out of luck to look at it in the game. Like, you have to either figure it out or look it up online, which I just, But not only that, even if you forgot how to do a mechanic, chances are that tutorial did not explain actually how to do that mechanic very well. Namely the battle system. So I don't have a problem with the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 battle system in itself. I think once you really get into it, it's very fluid, it's very fun, battles become fun. But it takes so long to get there if you don't know what you're doing, which I think is a big issue a lot of people faced in this game, is they had no idea how to actually do battles in this game because it's so poorly explained, and there's no way to check it to even see any possible information about it. That is, I think, probably my biggest gripe with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Not, like, even more so than taking a long time to get into it, the fact that nothing is explained well at all, and you need almost additional resources to figure out how to play the game. That's not how it should be. And thankfully, Torna fixed that like quite a bit. And then 3 continued to fix it by offering tutorials within the game that you could review at any time and just being better explained. But yeah, that is, I really look back and I think if I would have understood the combat more when I started out, I would have wanted to play more, because I think the combat is actually really fun once you get into it, but initially you have no idea what you're doing. It does not explain anything. Another big gripe that I have, and I think, I don't know if this is necessarily divisive, but it's just something that I can't stand. I hate gacha mechanics. I really do. And I think most people will agree on that, especially when thinking of microtransaction related gacha situations. But even in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it's just, there's so many problems with the gacha system. I think the gacha mechanic in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to get different blades would have been so cool if they did it better than how they did it. I think it's so cool that you can have so many different blades and you can customize it in so many different ways to really make an ideal team to really bounce off of one another with the elemental aspect of the combat. But the fact that you have to go through so much to get all of, like, any blade that you want, and then you have to do their, like, quests. I don't think they're called Ascension quests in this. I think Ascension quests is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But whatever it's called, in order to fully unlock everything that they can possibly do. And then, like, you just have to keep playing that roulette wheel. It's not fun to me. It's just so not fun to me. It might be to other people. I really hated it. I really, really hated that part of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Just give me the sexy blades, damn it. That's all I want. That is one other complaint that I don't personally have, because it doesn't really bug me in games all that much, is that some of the female characters are a little scandalous. Which is true, and that is, I think, unfortunately such a deep-rooted anime trope at this point in time, and I don't really see it going away anytime soon because of the target demographic for these games. It is unfortunate, and I appreciate that not every character in the Xenoblade universe is like that. It was a little overdone in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I'm not gonna lie. Again, it didn't really bug me all that much, but, like, it was a little overdone. But yeah, not a personal gripe for me, but I think it's still important to mention because I do think that turned a lot of people off from this game. And so those are kind of my big thoughts about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I really loved it for what it was, though I still had some really major complaints with the game itself. So why did I feel there was value in giving this game a second shot? Why would anybody think there's value in giving a game that has a lot of aspects you might not like a second shot? And I think it really comes down to personal preference / your goals when it comes to completing games in your collection or just ticking off specific games that you want to play at some point in time. I think I very much so become somebody who, even if I'm not really vibing with a game, I want to see it to the end so that way I have a full opinion on the matter. And I'll be honest, not playing Xenoblade 2 all the way through the first time gave me a lot of shame. And part of that was induced because of the internet just, you know, having very strong opinions and making me feel bad about myself. But also a lot of it was like, I have this game in my collection. So many people that I really know and trust love this game. Why can't I do this? And that's never a really good mindset to be in a lot of the time, because sometimes you really do just have to drop a game for the sake of dropping a game. But the difference with dropping a game because you absolutely couldn't stand it versus giving a game a second chance because you know there could be something good there and you just are unsure, I think those are two very separate situations. So for me, Xenoblade 2 was definitely in the latter of those two situations. I knew there was something there. I was so good about not looking up spoilers for all of that time with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I was in the dark about certain things that happened, which made it all the better, you know? Like, I knew some things, especially about how the games were connected with one another, but it didn't change the impact the game had on me. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 also isn't the only game I've ever given a second chance to either. Octopath Traveler I would almost put in that category, where it was one of those games where I started it, I played it, I loved it, and then I dropped it for a little bit, and then got back into it after a while because I was so dedicated to wanting to finish it. There were actually several Zelda and Mario games that were like that for me too. I think Link Between Worlds was one that I started, was kind of like, and then gave a second chance, started it over, and then I love Link Between Worlds. It's a wonderful, wonderful game. And I mean, sometimes you do run the risk of, after you give a game a second chance, of still not liking it. One of those games for me, which is probably not a surprise to anybody, was Paper Mario Sticker Star. I'm glad I played it, so I have an opinion on it, but at the same time, it was not good. It was not good. I got Sticker Star a long time ago, and I played it as soon as I got it because I was really excited to have a handheld Paper Mario game, and loved the first 3 games very much. Same deal that most other people had, and I got bored within the first, like, 2 hours of playing it. And I think I went back to playing A Link Between Worlds, actually. But, again, there was kind of that weird sense of shame, almost, that I hadn't finished it, and that I gave up so soon. So I went back and played it, and my opinions didn't really change. Other than that, I still stand by the fact that Sticker Star has a phenomenal soundtrack. Highly recommend. Underappreciated soundtrack right there. But it did give me almost closure on that thought that, like, all right, yeah, I was right. I didn't like this game, and with many, many, many good reasons, but now I can say that I have finished it and it's done. So I think when it comes to giving games a second chance, you know, there are pros and cons to it. The pros are you play through a game and you officially know what your thoughts and feelings are, having the full story, and maybe your opinions change. Maybe you found one of your most favorite games, like kind of how I did with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Cons are you play a game and you still don't like it, and you were probably right in dropping it the first time knowing that it wasn't going to be a game for you. So I definitely think it really comes down to personal preference. But I encourage you all at home to go through your gaming collections, look for games that maybe you started and then kind of dropped very quickly, and think about it. Could you see yourself trying to give this game a second shot? Do you think it's worth your time? Is it a game you're still interested about? I think the other aspect of it too is we live in a world where it's very easy for us to get information. So if we drop a game but still want to know what happens, all we have to do is go on YouTube and watch a Let's Play or somebody streaming it if we really want to. But I do think it's a very different experience giving a game a second chance on your own. You know what I mean? So I think my stance on the whole matter is I'm very, very grateful that I kind of let my preconceived notions of what I expected the rest of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to be like and gave it a replay. Because I really, really do think I would have been missing out on a lot if I just never gave it a second chance. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 fans, I am very sorry I doubted you all that time. You're right, this game is really, really wonderful in a lot of special ways. But I think that's kind of wrapping it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed this kind of more casual talk about a game that I finished and left an impression on me. I think I'm kind of getting away from the more in-depth reviews, not because I dislike them, but more because they're not very conducive to my life schedule right now. But it was nice to kind of talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and also talk about the bigger concept of giving games a second chance, which, as I said, check your collections, look at what games you would consider giving a second chance to play, and let me know, because I'm really, 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 really curious what games you might have dropped and why you would also pick them back up. But I do think that's going to end it for me. If you like this video, please maybe consider giving it a like. If you're not already subscribed, maybe subscribe. It wouldn't be a bad idea, I can tell you that. I think the next few videos, or at least the very next video, is going to be a little bit more in-depth. This was kind of a shorter video because it's a really hectic personal week for me, but I am really ready to get back into video game music related content, so stay tuned for that. I have a surplus of ideas for that and other videos, you know, too, but the next one's probably gonna be music related. But until the next video, my dear friends, goodbye. Boop. Oh my god, I punched that.